guys, a while back, Jared over at Knives Knives sent me this Tactile Knives Chupacabra. And I wasn't 100% sure how I felt about it, and I really haven't changed my opinions, but we're going to do the final review of this knife so that I can pack it up and send it back to him. So let's turn this around and take a look at this maybe polarizing knife from above. All right, guys, so we have looked at this long enough to know whether I like the Tactile Knives Chupacabra. And I like Tactile Knives. I love the fact they're doing everything made in America. You see, this is tumbled, magna cut. This thing is a very well-made knife. Let's get the box out of the way and start looking at this. Now, I'm on the fence. I like the design, overall design of the knife. I love the blade shape. I like the way it cuts. With a good edge, magna cut is good. I have actually cut myself pretty badly with this knife. I didn't talk about it, didn't film it, but I actually cut the crap out of myself with this. So it is sharp. I'm not a big fan of magna cut, so we have to keep that up front. But let's do some quick specs and size comparisons. So we're looking at a 3.3-inch blade with a cutting length of 3.125. It's got a closed length of 4.45, and I'm getting these specs directly from knifecenter.com. It's 7.73 inches overall. Blade stock thickness is 0.135, and it's coming in at 63.64, and they've got it listed as a flat ground sheep's foot. Now, they've got some different variations of this, and this is a really good, decent, well-made knife. Super quality machining on this. Let's do some size comparisons and then we'll get into the knife itself. So your first knife for comparison is the Spyderco PM2. Those of you new to the channel, I do this so that just because I told you the size and dimensions, you can have a visual representation. You can see it's a little bit smaller than the Spyderco PM2. There's some parallax from the angle we're filming at, but your next knife for size comparison is the Benchmade 940, probably the best known knife in the knife industry. And as you look at it, you can see these are almost 1-for-1 in size. So there you go, Benchmade 940. And your final knife, as always, is the legendary Chris Reeves large Sebenza. So there you go, you can see that. And I forgot to mention the weight. This is coming in at 4.72 ounces. So it's not a real heavy knife. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way and talk about this thing, because this thing is beautifully done. So you've got this great sheep's foot style blade that is at an angle where you've got the right amount of belly and a way to use it. The blade is ground down to a great edge, and like I said, it came from Jared very sharp. Now I'm 100% sure that's still the factory edge on this. You have anodized aluminum handles with steel liners and the Snex back lock. Now this runs on thumb studs, but you can also deploy it with the lock. Just like with an axis lock or a button lock, you can use the lock itself as a deployment mechanism. So it's not actually, it doesn't have a flipper tab. So it does have enough detent that you can flip it with the thumb studs, and it has ambidextrous thumb studs on it. The aluminum handles have been contoured here on the edges, just chamfered enough so that they don't feel sharp, and they give you that contoured feeling that you get with these thicker knives. It always feels good in hand. Nice deep carry pocket clip on this. It is a proprietary clip, and it sits nice in pocket, and I have to say, not a hot spot at all when you've got a hold of it and you're bearing down. Really good jimping on this. It's not too soft, but it's also not too aggressive. They did not round that off too much. You can absolutely remove the thumb studs with a Torx hardware, and it's ground really, really well and consistent. There's no issues with the grind on this knife. Black hard coat ano on aluminum is one of the best finishes you're going to get on a knife. It not only is it attractive, it lasts a long time, and surprisingly, it's not slick. As much as it may look like it, it's not slick. And then just your overall construction. Now, the Snex lock is very fidgety. You get this double click detent that's on it. This version of the Snex lock, I don't dislike anywhere near as much as the other one. And like I said, very, very strong lock. The Snex lock, the Snex Super Lock, the Shark lock, they're some up there with compression lock when it comes to strength. I think Cold Steel has one they call the Atlas lock as well. So you've got the steel liners underneath. There has been some weight reduction in this, and they did not give you an ugly, ugly lanyard hole on this. So you could probably use one of these back spacers or standoffs as your lanyard spot. Now, in cutting, this thing does cut really, really well. It's got a nice edge behind the edge profile. It cuts really well. And like I said, when you get up on it like this, it's really comfortable when you can push down in the cut. As long as you don't get your thumb in the way, because when you're all the way up here like I was like, I kept getting my thumb into the cardboard. The edge seems to have held up really well. MagnaCut does have a very good edge retention. Even though I'm not such a fan of the MagnaCut steel, and I'll talk about that. You know, I've talked about it a bunch of times. It just doesn't take the edge I want, but it is a very good steel and it holds its edge really well. Super corrosion resistant on that. In and out of pocket, great. It was in and out of pocket like a champ. You got this nice pocket clip on here. Not too much tension. You got a lot of tension, but it's easy to get it in and out of pocket, no matter the thickness of the pants, whether it be 511s with the reinforced pocket, any of that. And then it sits nice and deep. So overall, a really, really good knife. There are, however, some things I don't like about this knife, which means I wouldn't buy this knife. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to flip this thing around and do flip side of the story, flip side of the knife. All right, I want to preface this with saying that these are all just me things. These are issues that I have with the knife. There's nothing wrong with the knife. It's just not something I think I would purchase. First of all, it's a little heavy. It's not super heavy, but with the thick aluminum on top of the steel liners, then with the incorporation of the Snex backlock, which is a big chunk of metal. As you can see, it adds a good bit of weight. And it's not just that it adds weight in areas I don't want it. I like a nice, more neutral balance towards the pivot. As you can see, very tail heavy. I like having some more weight towards the middle and actually even maybe being blade heavy. And this really is not. It wants to just drop down in the tail. Next thing, I'm not a fan of the Snex lock to begin with. Like I said, not a fan of the Shark lock, not a fan of the Atlas lock. I don't like these back actuation locks like the Shark lock. I don't like them. Compression lock is different. I don't like them because, as you can see, they stand up here. When you have a flipper knife, here, I'll grab one, I'll show you. When you have a flipper knife, you have that piece that's here, but it disappears when you open the knife. When you open this knife, it stays there, and it just drives me nuts because it's like where I want to put my thumb on a knife like this. It's where I want to put it, and it's in the way. It can be uncomfortable. Now, if I get all the way up here like this, like I said, let's get this out. What I was saying is, if I get up here, it's still bothering me. I can feel it, and that's a hard edge. Now, if I get up here, it's super comfortable, but then my thumb is in the way, and I've only got that much of the blade. I just find them to be in the way. They don't add anything except some fidgety. You know, if this knife would have been so much better as an axis lock, probably similar to the Ram lock. It would have been lighter. It would have been better as a button lock. It would have been better as a frame lock or a liner lock. Anything on that would have been better. I am not a fan of the Shark lock or any of these back locks like this. Now, next thing. This seems silly to me. Now I have an ambidextrous lock on this knife, but I can't flip my pocket clip. It's really a big miss on their part. That's one of the big complaints that a lot of people have is knives that are not ambidextrous. And now you have a truly ambidextrous knife, but you can't flip the pocket clip. It just seems like you missed the boat on that one. And then I just, like I said, it's just, there's just too much. I think one last thing I would add is if you're going to not have a lanyard hole, that's kind of close. Can you see? You could get your lanyard in. I would like to have seen like a post with a hole in it for a lanyard for guys that wanted a lanyard. I'm not a guy that would want a lanyard, but if you wanted to put something like this on there, the problem is if I do wrap something with an expensive bead around that end piece and then it gets up in because there's no hole to prevent it from sliding up in, then it gets cut and then I've lost. Sometimes these beads can be $50 to $100 and this one was a gift. So just overall for me, I really don't think, I think a different version of this knife without the Snex super lock on it would have been way better for me. It's a good knife that just, that ruined it. I mean, it can ruin something like that can just ruin a knife for a consumer. So, like I said, if you like the knife, nothing against the knife. I think it's a great, really well-made knife. I think it's just not a knife for me. So, with that being said, guys, let's turn this around, do some final thoughts, and send you out about your day. I guess so. The thing for me on this knife is just I don't like the shark lock. I mean, they're fun, they're fidgety, and for a lot of people, they're going to be great. I just don't like that lock mechanism. And I do understand it's ambidextrous, and I do understand they're very strong. I just don't like them. They just have a tendency to be in the way. So guys, that's it on this one. Like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Make sure that you check out all of the affiliate links down below so I can continue to do the things that I do on this channel. That's what supports the channel the most. I get a little bit of portion of it at checkout. It doesn't cost you anything extra, especially that Amazon store. There's 2 links down there that have got a discount built in. Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail saves 10% just by using that link, and they're great companies. I know the owners of both of them. I also have a coupon code, crazysharp, all one word. You can save at Fair & Forge Knife Works, Rosecraft Blades, and KATSU Knives, who are making my first folding knife design. Other ways you can support the channel, I've got a membership. You can get early access to videos and exclusive content. I also have a public Discord down below. Join the community. You can get in on that, and hit me up if you want to send me a DM. Maybe you've got a knife you'd like to see reviewed, or a question about something you saw on the channel. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.